Good morning and afternoon. You gonna set up the Facebook Live?
Yeah, I was.
You'll just use your hand? All right. Tell me when we're live. All right. Good afternoon and welcome to our class on discipleship, on spiritual disciplines, and on the Sermon on the Mount. It's been 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks since we had class because of various events during Christmas. So our last assignment was a good long while ago. This was our previous assignment, to pray every day for someone you don't like, or someone who annoys you, or who you're fighting with, or who you resent, or disapprove of, or who you think has wronged you, or who you're angry at. 1 to 2 minutes is enough, but 1 to 2 whole minutes. And I ask you to pray every day. So if you manage 5 or 6 days a week, that's good enough. For someone that you don't like or that you're angry with or something like that. That was the exercise. I hope you carried it out for at least a full week, but it would have been great if you carried it out every day the whole 5 weeks we were gone. So as always, the first part of our class is to share our experiences in carrying out our lesson and our assignment. So let's split into 2 groups, I think, Taiwanese and Mandarin. And it looks like I'm the only one who's going to work in English, but that's all right. I'll get my head together in the back. So let's split up, share your experiences, share what it felt like, share what happened, and especially share if anything happened between you and the person you were praying about. You may have prayed for 5 or 10 different people in the course of the time we were gone. I didn't say you had to pray for the same person all the time. So let's split up into our groups and share. And you can pause the live stream. Go ahead and advance a slide. So we had good conversations about this exercise and the work we did on it. And I think it's also the case that we all need to practice that last exercise some more, from what I heard and from how we talked about it. So it's always possible for you to keep practicing a previous exercise. You just don't have to do it automatically every day, but you sometimes have to do it even so. So I want us to look forward to the next lesson I'm going to give us. And this is from the Sermon on the Mount again in chapter 5, verse 13. But I'm going to back up. No, I'm going to go forward. We already did something with verse 14. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the basket, but on the lampstand, so it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so they may see your good works and give glory to the Father in heaven. Now, I already gave us an assignment about that back in lesson 3. Which was to look for things that others are doing good and shine your light on them so it will be seen and recognized, so that they'll hear you tell them, that was good, that was great, that was wonderful. And I built that up on top of the simpler exercise the previous week of making sure that you mean it when you say thank you, of making sure that you take care to say thank you seriously. All right? Then the next piece was this, shine your light upon them. That is, extend yourself to say more than just thank you, but to really bring out what other people are doing that's good and shine a light on it. That was the next level of the exercise. Now we're going to get to the 3rd level of the same progression of exercise. And this is based upon verse 13. You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. Now, in part, this is because in those days, salt was mined and it wasn't refined the way it is now. And most salt had a little bit of dirt still mixed in with it. And if all the salt got washed out of it, you'd still have a little bit of dirt left behind. It's lost its saltiness because the salt dissolves in water and the dirt doesn't. Although actually these days, the salt Linda and I like the most, we buy because it's got a little bit of dirt in it that adds some flavor to it. Boy, going back to the old days. But we're used in America to purified salt. So this verse doesn't make sense to us sometimes. But in those days, salt was even dirtier than the specialty salts we buy now. So first we took care about saying thank you and not doing it automatically. Then we shine our light upon the good things that others are doing. Well, now it's time for us to be the salt, for us to give the flavor, for us to do the good thing that makes everything better around us. This is what we should be doing all the time as Christians. We should be looking for the good thing to do that makes things better for everyone all around us. Where did I put down my sheet of paper? Ah, there it is. And that's part of what it means to be the salt of the earth. Now, we got to start with doing small things. So let me go forward to the assignment. There we are. I don't know about you, but I was in the Boy Scouts as a kid, and we had a motto was do a good deed every day. Well, we meant pretty small good deeds, like help an old lady across the street. Actually, most old ladies don't need help getting across the street. They do, however, need help carrying the groceries out to their car. So that would be much more sensible. But I want you to do a good deed every week. 2, if you can, every week. And you've got 2 weeks between now and the next class. Weekly, not daily, because we're looking for something relatively substantial here. You're also looking for something you can do that makes a difference. Not just that allows you to pat yourself on the back and say, I did a good deed. I mean, the old lady was going to get to the other side of the street no matter what. So that doesn't really count as much of a good deed. On the other hand, carrying the groceries out to the car maybe means that they don't get spilled. That's a little more substantial. Do a good deed every week. 2, if you can find the opportunity. Church stuff doesn't count. Doing things for the church, volunteering to count the offering, volunteering to be one of the servers for communion, that doesn't count in this exercise. Church stuff doesn't count. And this is an exercise. So this is not for taking on long-term commitments. Okay? This exercise is not saying, okay, you need to go and commit to tutoring mathematics for junior high kids who are having trouble with it every Friday for the next year. Maybe you need to do that someday. Maybe you'll get to that place and that will be what your saltiness needs to be. But I'm looking for more immediate things that you can grab a hold of and do, and it's done because it's a complete act. This is an exercise. So, maybe you're driving down the road and someone's on the side. Maybe they need help. Maybe they don't. Sometimes I drive by such people. Probably 2 times out of every 3, I drive right past such people. But you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, is this my turn? Is it my turn to help? You don't have to say, oh man, I did something terrible, I drove right by them, oh that's bad. Because if you do that, then you'll start hiding from yourself. Then you'll start not even noticing them. Because you feel bad when you drive by them. Don't do that to yourself. Ask yourself not, should I stop, should I stop? Ask yourself rather, was it my turn to help? Was it my turn to help? Not just with someone by the side of the road, but with anything that may go on. I mean, at work, there must be jobs at work that there are 4 or 5 different people who ought to do that when it needs to be done, whoever bumps into it first. And not everybody in the team, there are 20 on the team, not all of them are supposed to do it, but there's 4 or 5 of you who should do this whenever it comes up if you're the one that's right there for it. Well, if it's your turn, do it. Helping in Elijah's kitchen is something that works for this. Hey, I've been here, Darren's been scheduling us to go help at that for 5 years or more. I've been here since May of 2015. I haven't done that yet. I haven't gone and helped at Elijah's kitchen yet. Now I've been able to say to myself, it's not my turn to do that because I do a lot of other things. But sometimes what you need to do is say, hey, wait a minute. Here's something where I've been saying, it's not my turn to help for 5 years. Maybe as an exercise, I need to say, no, it's my turn now. I'll help with that one when they ask. Sometimes, Jesus says we should feed the hungry. This is difficult because people ask you on the street all the time, you have some spare change, you have $1 or so, so I can get something to eat. And we feel like, if we give them money, what are they going to do with it? What are they going to do with it? And I don't want them to do something bad with it, so I'm not going to give them any. And I used to feel like that. And then one time I was pulling up to a restaurant I wanted to go to because I hadn't been there in 20 years. And it was in Portland, Oregon. I was visiting. It was a restaurant I used to go to a lot with my dad when we lived in Oregon. And as I'm pulling up and parking the car, I see this guy, and he looks like that. And I know he's about to walk up to me and ask me for a couple of dollars so he can get something to eat. And I got out of the car, I locked it, he walked up to me, and before he could speak, I said, I'm about to go into Dan and Louie's to get some dinner. Would you like to come have dinner with me? I'll pay for your dinner. And he went like, I was just going to ask you for a couple of dollars. I said, yeah, but a couple of dollars won't get you anything to eat. Come on in, I'll give you dinner. So now, I do that. Not every time, not even 8 times out of 10. But I never give anyone any money in a situation like that. But I do sometimes stop and say, hey, there's the diner, right there. Let's go sit down. I don't need any lunch, but I'll get a cup of coffee and I'll buy you lunch. Lunch is $12. That's more than I would have given him. But this now makes a real difference. But again, I don't think it's my turn every single time. But I do think it's my turn sometimes. Help the homeless. Have any of us ever helped when New Brunswick was doing the homeless shelter? They had 2 weeks every winter that we did that there. Have you ever helped with that? I did that once. You did that once? You've done that? So sometimes it's our turn. And when we do that, it means we don't have to go out every week of our lives and go looking for the guys under the bridge. Although it can be helpful. Here's another thing you can do. I did this once. Bought a box of cotton gloves. Ordinary cotton gloves to keep your hands warm in the winter. And took them out to where the guys were all hanging out in the winter. And handed out gloves. Because gloves is something they don't have. There are lots of people who put together old coats for them from Goodwill or places like that and try to give them to the homeless guys. But no one ever thinks of the gloves. I only ever did that once, but sometimes you think of something like that. Volunteer for some community activity, especially if it's something that you've watched for years and said, that's a good thing, but you've never done anything to help with it. So the exercise is to pick something specific. Pick something specific and concrete that you can actually do. So I didn't give you a do every day kind of thing, because if we did something every day, we'd pick up a bunch of little tiny things. But neither am I telling you to pick up a big thing, like a year-long commitment. Pick something that you can do and get done and be done with it, but do something. And don't get into the trap of always thinking that it's bad that you don't always do it for everyone. Don't do that. Just ask yourself, is it my turn this time? And sometimes, most of the time, the answer will be, no, it's not my turn this time. But it will be next time, or the time after that. So, that's the assignment for 2 weeks from now. Find someone or something that you can make better by something that you can do. And then go do it. This is what it means for us as Christians to be the salt of the earth. And I want us to treat this in practical terms, not in religious terms. Going out and preaching the gospel on the street corner doesn't count for this exercise. Okay? Doesn't count for this exercise. But ordinary, everyday needs like daily bread, hunger and cold, these are things that do count. Some other more subtle things may count. Sometimes, I know I've been in this position, in a team at work, there's a job that no one wants to do, but that somebody's got to do, or the team's not going to get very far forward. Maybe it's your turn to do it. maybe it's your turn to do it. I don't know. Different jobs are different ways. But I did once work on a team writing software for an automated blood chemistry analyzer. And there were dirty jobs that none of us wanted to do, like document control. We all wanted to write the next document. We didn't want to have to sit down and track down who had which document and had written which module to which program, and just keep them all in order so that nobody was writing over the top of other people's stuff. It was grungy work and no one wanted to do it. But if no one did it, we'd never have gotten anything done. So we passed the job around week by week. And everybody grumbled when it was their turn. Maybe if someone stepped up and did it voluntarily, instead of everyone having to be forced to do it, maybe that would change the attitude about it. I don't know, because I don't know what your job is. I don't know how your job works. Some of you have jobs that you do all yourself. Some of you have jobs where you're not in a position to do that, because you're in charge of the team, not a member of the team. All right? So that's why it's just a suggestion, a thing to look at and wonder about if maybe it fits or maybe you can do that. All right? Is the assignment clear? Everyone understands it? We meet again after worship on the 19th of January. Let's have just a word of prayer. Lord God, help us continue to pray for those who bother us, who annoy us, or that we're angry at. Give us now, by the guidance of the Holy Spirit, vision to see when and where we can do something that will change things for all the people around us. And give us the wisdom to choose the right action and the courage to carry it through. Amen.